Is Elias Pettersson the favorite for the Selke Trophy next season? Is he going to be the next Datsuk? We're going to get into that next. You're listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? Happy Friday, or happy whenever the heck you're listening to this. We thank you for listening to this episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer and credentialed media member for Daily Hive Vancouver. And once again, thanks for listening to Locked On Canucks. You're here with us in late July, early August, whatever it is. We appreciate the heck out of you being here. Again, it's your team every day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, set it off the top. You know, one of the great defensive forwards in NHL history just retired. And does that mean that the next great forward in NHL history is just scratching the surface, you know? Elias Pettersson, I wanted today to look at his chances of winning the Selke, you know, pulled some stats, pulled some numbers. Apparently the numbers I pulled, it was too nerdy for Daily Hive. I said, Rob, you want me to write about this? And he's like, I don't know, man. It was too nerdy for Daily Hive. Anyways, Kyle, you're going to bear with me through it. So how you doing today, brother?
Man, oh man, you know what? Rob made the right choice because it's sunny outside. You know, it's the summer. You know, let's not pull out the textbooks. All right, for real. True story, yo. When it was year 2 of us doing networking for Nucks misconduct, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this a little bit more serious. Actually, it was no, it was year 2. You're right. It was year 2, and I took that book, Stat Shot. Is that what it's called? Stat Shot. It's like a fancy stat dictionary book.
Yeah, by Rob Volman, I think.
Yeah, there you go. And I took it to Columbia and I read one page. I had it for 2 weeks. I read The Alchemist though for like the second time or the third time there.
Oh,
So
damn.
you know, we're living life. Anyways, Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs, your team every day. This is Locked On Canucks. We'll get to your comments at the end of the show. Actually, just a comment. Okay, I think we got to just stick to one comment at a time in the summer because it's the summer and I want to really hone in on those special episodes on those off days. Okay, more on that on those off days next week. Anyways, today, Selke, Pettersson. Who else can win it outside of Pettersson? Because Bergeron is not here anymore. He's just been piling them up. There's a lot of good two-way forwards. Real talk. We talked about one on the last episode, right? Sebastian Aho. He could win a Selke too. But I'm curious to know more about the list of names and Pettersson's chances. Beggsy. Not going to lie. I think there's a really good chance that Pettersson's going to win a Selke here.
Yeah, and let me just point this out quick here. So Sebastian Aho last season, you know, he did finish, he was in Selke voting. He finished 28th overall, 1 4th place vote, 2 5th place votes. But your boy, Elias Pettersson, finished 7th in Selke Trophy voting last season. He had 6 second place votes, 15 third, 12 for 4th, and 10 for 5th. So 7th place overall. And so I kind of started this exercise by looking at how we compared to Patrice Bergeron last season. Okay, let's start with the cream of the crop and see how Pettersson compared to him. So I think one thing that is important to remember when you're kind of comparing players like this is the performance relative to team, right? So if you're looking at the stats, like Bergeron crushed Pettersson out of the water for sure. But even some of the top 2 Selke candidates last season were Patrice Bergeron and Nico Hischier. Those are 2 teams that dominated in terms of possession, especially at even strength. So, yeah, I think Pettersson, when you just look at the numbers, like pales in comparison to those guys. But again, what's important to remember is the structure of the team, okay? The Canucks played this loose, unstructured, loosey-goosey style last season that didn't do the team any wonders defensively, whereas Boston and the Devils had this great structure that helped the team out. So one of the stats I look at right now is kind of like the stats relative to team performance, right? So like Bergeron, for sure. One of the things that stood out to me about him is like even compared to his team, when Bergeron was on the ice, the Bruins allowed very few chances and created a ton, especially created a ton relative to their team. Pettersson created less relative to his team than Bergeron did, but Pettersson's just efficient, man. Like we've talked about it before. Bergeron, I think Kyle, this is actually a little errors in omission here. I think you said you think Bergeron hit 100 points. And I didn't have time to look it up while we were recording, but I looked it up afterwards. And he actually had his career high was like 78 points or something like that.
No way. Steve
Yeah.
slapped me in the face, dude. And we made an error on the last episode too. Aho's getting paid 9.75 and not 9.5. But it's the summer, yo. It is what it is, and we're just taking our reps. Anyways, back to Bergeron. Keep going.
Yeah. So again, raw numbers, Bergeron way better than Pettersson, but relative to team, Pettersson actually compared pretty favorably to Bergeron. So one thing I looked at was expected goals against. What are the expected goals against when the player's on the ice? So Bergeron relative to the team was basically minus half a goal per 60, minus 0.46 goals per 60. Pettersson minus 0.48 goals per 60. So basically when Pettersson and Bergeron are on the ice, they're having the same positive impact for their team. When they're on the ice, the opposition is averaging about half a goal less for
Oh
60
my
minutes.
God, my
So,
head hurts, dude. Come on, dude. It's the summer, bro. I just gave you a hint, bro. Fancy
okay,
stats
here's
galore, but I get it though.
here's
I
the
get
dumb
it
guy
though.
explanation. Yeah.
No, it
Okay.
is
All
what it
right. All
is.
right.
I think this is like the one trophy. Maybe there's like one more that's on this list of trophies where fancy stats are really, really important. So I get it.
Mhm.
I get it. Keep diving in,
But
bro.
here's
I'll
the
learn.
thing, though. Here's the thing, and the reason why I'm making the case in terms of relative performance to team is I don't even think the guys, the PWHA people voting for this award are going to this level of research, right? They're probably just looking at the numbers like, what was his Corsi for? What was his Corsi against? What's his plus minus? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's pretty surface for a lot of these guys, right? They're not going into like, what was the expected goals relative to his team's performance? Like, they're
Holy
not doing
shit.
that, man.
My
So
guy's talking
I'm just
smack. Like you just want one of those votes, don't you? You know what, Trevor? In the next 2 years, you're gonna have one of those votes, bro. I'm telling you, man. It's gonna happen, bro. I
Yeah,
like it.
it's funny. I've heard the complaint from some people who have voting rights who are in the PWHA that it's like, oh crap, I have a vote now. I can't make fun of people for their votes. It's like I'm down for that pressure, man. I'm down for that pressure. There's no problem at all.
Yeah, you can. What are we
Um,
gonna do? Fight each other? Come on, man. Yo, okay.
Nerd fight.
Like media personality or yeah, media personalities. I don't think they can get that upset at another media guy critiquing their work. You know what I'm saying? If it's all in line
Oh,
with
but
the
they do.
work, just like go after each other. It's all good. What do we do for a living? Right? Kind
Oh
of. We
man.
go after other pros on the ice, on the field. So it's fair game, man. It's fair
Yeah.
game.
Speaking of which, I didn't hear, but did it ever become public that guy who had Connor McDavid fifth in Hart Trophy voting?
It did, man, right away. Come on, the people did their research. The guy was from, okay, I want to say like Pittsburgh or Boston. Pittsburgh or Boston. I think I'm right on that.
Damn,
Who knows? Again, Kyle Bound getting some things right and a lot of
crazy.
things wrong in this thing called life and in this in this thing called Locked On Canucks. The Bergeron thing. It's first off like 2011. A little bit of a side note, but 2011. Obviously, Patrice Bergeron, that guy, still that guy now for real. Just one of the best players in the NHL all the time. And I think when they showed like a retirement post, either through NHL or the Boston Bruins social media, they used that photo of him lifting the cup at Rogers Arena. And yeah, still petty, bro. Still petty, still hurt.
Yeah.
And I think I'm only saying that because I still haven't done my due diligence and gone through like the best of Patrice Bergeron because I'm scared to see
Yeah,
that stuff
no,
come up. Just
I'm
saying.
not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it myself.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Bergeron, whatever, but I'm not gonna be looking through Bergeron clips. I got other things to watch. He can just
Mm,
ride off into the sunset without me watching.
mhm.
Instead, I'm gonna be digging into expected goals against for your Vancouver Canucks, baby. Let's go, Locked On Canucks. Okay,
Oh
so I wanted to
man.
quickly look at the other people who finished ahead of Pettersson in Selke voting. So it was Nico Hischier was second after Bergeron, then Mitch Marner, then Jordan Stahl, Anze Kopitar, and Michael Backlund. So I think on the other side, I do want to look at why Pettersson will win the Selke and maybe some things working against him. But I'll kind of go right now. One of the things working against Pettersson is age. So you notice from those the six players ahead of Pettersson, four of them were over the age of 34 or higher. Like Bergeron's 37, Jordan Stahl's 34, Kopitar's 35, Michael Backlund's 33. So over the age of 33 and above. So I think it's a lot of legacy voting. Like people are just like, oh yeah, this grizzled old vet, he can play
Oh
defense. He's teaching the kids how to do
man.
it. It's like, yeah, so I don't know. Maybe there's a bit of bias too towards Pettersson being the
Dude.
younger guy. Now that being said, Hischier, same draft year as Pettersson. Marner's only 2 draft years ahead of Pettersson, similar age. But I'm telling you right now, the even strength underlying numbers without going on a big analytical rampage. Pettersson, I think, no, not even I think Pettersson does have better defensive metrics relative to his team than Hischier and Marner have. 100%.
Dude, man, you're just going after these pro hockey writers, man. I think these
Yeah, let's
votes are a
go.
little like hindering on some bias because they're paying respect to these grizzled vets and they deserve votes. I think you know what? I don't want to believe that, but you definitely know more than me in regards to the voting. I do think maybe there was a small chance of that even this year with Bergeron. Again, I got to look at the stats, but rightfully so. If they had to, lean towards personal bias and legacy bias, maybe they knew that Bergeron was on his way out. And you know what? You can just get it next year, man. Let's just ride it off and give it to Bergeron, and maybe the trophy is going to be now named after him at some point in this thing
Yeah.
called our lives, man. One hell of a player, but a player that I will never truly get to appreciate until I pop off. I don't know, man. I got to be in a better place in life where I'm not like working so much and so focused and doing my thing for me to really not take life so seriously. And then, yeah, be able to go back and see the best of Patrice Bergeron, the best of Zdeno Chara, the best of Brad Marchand, even maybe like the Tim Thomas highlights from that whole year in the playoffs, because he was kind of worldly, the whole time. But
Yeah.
I think that's like 24 years away for real,
Dude,
man.
you're in a dark spot today. I know Patrice Bergeron retired, but it's just got you going thinking about 2011
Of
lots, eh?
course, man. Come on, man.
Let's stop thinking about 2011 and cut to an ad break, and then the other side, I'm going to tell you why Pettersson is going to win the Selke next season. But first, okay, I don't have that peak performance that Pettersson does, and it has nothing to do with my physical abilities. Okay, newborn life, it just has me short on sleep. It's harder to work out, eat healthy like I used to once upon a time, back when I was 29. But hey, that's why I have a hard time living my life without my AG1 in the morning. Since I've been drinking AG1, I've noticed an overall feeling of sustained energy, support for mental clarity, and focus. And hey, I need that focus to bring you the goods here on Locked On Canucks when I'm talking about expected goals relative to team performance, baby. AG1, it replaces your multivitamin, your probiotic, and more in one simple drinkable habit. AG1 uses a science-driven formulation of vitamins, probiotics, and whole food source nutrients. Science, baby. And Kyle, you and I, we're both over the 30 mark. I know that you and I could use product like AG1 to keep us feeling like we're only 29, okay? If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/NHL Network. That's drinkag1.com/NHL Network. Check it out.
By the way, before we get back to the show, I got to remind you again that every episode of Locked On Canucks will be available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcatcher at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all. Again, every episode of Locked On Canucks at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all. Let's get back to the show. Okay, we back. Locked On Canucks, your team every day. What a eventful last 24 hours in this thing called my life. What an eventful last 10 minutes. I can't believe I just mentioned all four of those guys in a row. Those ex-Boston Bruins. Or no, the Brad Marchand's still there. They're just, what's going on today? This is what happens when you open up Pandora's box and talk about Bergeron and Pettersson possibly replacing him as the best defensive forward in hockey. The sky's the limit for Pettersson, and the comments keep coming after the fact that we should not be putting it out there that the Canucks, should give Pettersson a blank check. And I know Trevor Beggs has been more reluctant to it, trying to be more strategic and looking at the long-term plans as something way more important because they are. I get it, over Pettersson's happiness, but I'm just saying, just keep this guy for 8 years, okay? More on that on comment corner. Yeah, Pettersson winning the Selke. You mentioned a bunch of names. Do you have any sleeper guys outside of the top 7 that you could possibly see also taking the next leap as becoming known as one of the best defensive forwards in hockey? I know I said Aho, 28-1. That's a long shot, bro.
Yeah, well, that's actually a good question. I think, looking at guys who received votes last season, I think the name that would stand out most to people is Noah Cates. I think most casual hockey fans have no idea who this guy is. He was a rookie in Philly last season, and who the heck's paying attention to the Philadelphia Flyers? But he finished 15th overall in Selke voting, one place behind Austin Matthews, and he was ahead of Zibanejad, Tkachuk, and Mark Stone. So, Mark Stone, I think, is going to be a perennial front runner if he's healthy, right? He only played 43 games last season, which is why he finished 18th in voting. But I think kind of the other two other names to watch for are the guys on the Stars, Jason Robertson and Rope Hintz. Amazing underlying numbers. Like they just absolutely dominate when they're on the ice at even strength. Like I would probably argue without diving into the numbers hardcore that Hintz, Robertson, and Pavelski was the best line in the NHL last season. And the other guy I'm going to point out is Sam Reinhart of the Florida Panthers. So I don't think people really think of this guy as a defensive forward, but he's really stepped up his game defensively since joining the Florida Panthers. So I'm gonna bring up expected goals against relative one more time. So I ran a list on Natural Stat Trick of forwards who played over 1,000 minutes last season and how they finished in terms of expected goals against per 60. So Elias Pettersson was second overall. Okay, and again, this is performance relative to his team. Pettersson the second best expected goals against relative to his team. Sam Reinhart was first. The only player who had a better difference relative to his team in terms of expected goals. So
Holy
Reinhardt's a beast. He's up there, but Pettersson, I think he could be a front runner for the Selke moving forward, man.
ASAP. Keyword is ASAP. I think that's what you're
Yeah.
trying to say as well. Nah,
Yeah.
man, I could see it. And you know what? Maybe this is, in this McDavid era, that's what we truly are in. And I don't again, such a big Vancouver guy, West Coast bias all over me. Okay, if you know me and you've heard me for years and years and years, I don't know if there's 7 more people who love the city more than Kyle Bhawan, but I'll say it. It's okay if Pettersson is net like it's okay if Pettersson never wins a Hart Trophy, because of the
It's
case.
all about winning the cup,
No,
baby.
no, no, no.
Exactly. Pettersson wants to
But
win.
no, it's. I'm just saying.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
actually saying it because like McDavid's in the league. It's all good. It
Oh,
is
I
what
see
it
what you
is.
mean. Okay.
But
All
maybe
right.
this is his. This is his trophy. Like this is his way. I know that award shows don't matter and whatnot and blah blah blah. I don't know if we really care about these awards that much. But maybe this is one way where Pettersson is known more. Just for that side of his game because just this is just based on watching a bunch of YouTube videos over the last week, and I slowly am seeing more like focused videos on Pedersen and the type of player he is, and how he's going to be a problem, and all this stuff. And it just feels as if last year was the first year where like everyone took him really really serious for what he is. He's just not an offensive dude, He's not that guy. He's a complete hockey player, who happens
Yeah.
to be able to put up 100 points. And again, maybe him winning the Selke right away can just put more of an obvious limelight on him, but it's also one that he deserves for real. He's
Yeah.
just one of the best players in the game. He does everything.
Yeah. 100%. And I think that's almost a good segue into why Pettersson is going to win the Selke next season. So I would say, numbers aside, F those numbers. I've talked enough about them.
Yeah,
I've
you
already said
nerd. Come
his,
on, man. My head hurts, dude.
his impact relative to his team is massive. Like he's an amazing defensive player. But aside from that, you just watch the guy. He's positionally dominant out there. He skates so hard on the back check. He's always in position, despite being like a slighter guy, as he's been referred to ever since being drafted. He's really good at getting guys off the puck. And I think when him and Hughes are on the ice together, it almost feels like the Canucks should pull McDavid and Draisaitl, just have them skate 30 minutes because it doesn't matter how, even if they're not the biggest guys in the NHL, they're really good at being positionally sound and using their stick to turn over possession. And another reason why I think he's going to win is because lots of shorthanded points. That's a big thing, right? I think, I look at Mitch Marner in terms of where he finished in Selke voting, third overall, like he was a Selke finalist. I don't think Mitch Marner is an incredible defensive player, to be honest with you, especially in the playoffs. Like he was butter soft in the playoffs for sure. But he's considered to be a good penalty killer, and I think that's a big part of it. And he puts up some points shorthanded as well. So that plays into Pettersson's favor. I'll tell you right now, I'll say this quickly. What's working against Pettersson, even though he puts up a lot of shorthanded points, he doesn't have good penalty killing metrics. Like the Canucks are surrendering a lot shorthanded when he's on the ice. He has a bad face-off winning percentage. Again, I look like someone like Nico Hischier, who's won 53% of his draws last season, finishes second in Selke voting. Pettersson was around 44% last season. And the third reason why what's working against him is he plays on a mediocre team. I said that off the hop. Like you look at the guys who finished ahead of him in Selke voting, Bergeron, Hischier, Marner, Stahl, and Kopitar all play on good teams. Okay. It was Backlund and Pettersson at 6 and 7 were the first two candidates that played on bad teams. So if Pettersson wants to make some noise for the Selke, I think he can win it, but the Canucks got to be good.
Yeah. Well, you said a lot there, and so much of the truth was said. And for us again on the West Coast, we can truly appreciate what this guy has done because we've seen it. We've seen it for a long time now. And yeah, there was that small little stretch where he was a little invisible. What was it like? To almost 2 years ago, like yeah, he just
Yeah.
different. He was kind of he just didn't have any confidence. He's admitted it. But that was a small stretch. Outside of that small stretch, the other 300 plus games that he's played or whatever the number is, dude, I haven't seen this guy play more than 5 bad games in his hockey career, outside of that small stretch. Like, he just always bringing it.
Yeah.
And if he's not picking up points, I think as a true hockey fan, you got to appreciate the effort every single night. That's
Yeah.
just a rare thing in elite offensive players. Like, he just has that innate ability to always be good. But you did mention something really, really big. And this is something that I didn't even think about, but it's such a huge, huge, huge thing in being one of the most important centers of his era. Is like, yo, you got to be a little bit better in the faceoff circle, especially in the Selke category as well. Like, that's just a given. And he's an accountable guy. And I know he does a little bit of everything, but I also do know, seeing that he's a super competitive guy and a smart dude, that he understands that as well. Like, he can't just be losing most of his draws. That's not good for winning.
Yeah.
And if he's gonna play a lot,
100%.
yeah. So work out those wrists, dude. Work out those forearms. How do you do it? Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
How do you how do
Why
you
are you
work out
laughing,
your
dude?
wrists?
Why?
How you work at your wrist? That's all
Nah,
I
nah,
wanna know.
dude. Just take a dumbbell. Just take a dumbbell. You're just doing this all the time, Or
Yeah,
you
I
take,
actually
or you take weights. You take heavy weights, and you just walk around the gym. I'm that weirdo sometimes,
wow,
I'm that weirdo.
okay.
Take heavy weights, and I just walk around the gym.
I used to do this workout where I'd have, like, the dumbbell bar, and I would, like, put my elbows on my knees, and I would
There you
do, like,
go.
wrist curls.
Hey, that's
Yeah,
how
yeah,
you work out
yeah,
your wrist. The only way is to work out your wrist
yeah.
are
I
that,
got the
man.
skinniest wrist of all time. For the YouTube viewers, here's a look at my,
Yeah, you've
skinny
been
wrist.
married
It's
for a
not
long
my
time, man. You've been married for a long time. Okay, Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Kyle Bound, Trevor Bags. We're gonna get the comment corner. Didn't even mention him for more than 60 seconds, but I'm gonna say it for the third time, okay? Because we did talk about him a couple days ago. Sebastian Aho. Okay, we compared the dude to Pettersson and the importance of both players to their teams, and ultimately the number, the contract. What are the chances that the Vancouver Canucks can sign their most important piece for under $10 million as well, long term? We talked about it on the last episode of Locked On Canucks. Remember, it's your team every day, but in the summer, it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That being said, I am working on something. For the people to fill out some of those days in the summer. It has to do with Comment Corner. Speaking of that, let's get to that on this show called Locked On Canucks. Okay, we back. Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Trevor Bags and Kyle Bowen. Before we get to Comment Corner, let's talk about Nirvana. Why? Because I'm wearing a shirt, okay, with the great Kurt. Legend, rest in peace. Nirvana, easier. Well, no, they're always easy to love. Seattle, I'm saying, was easier to love, a couple years ago, even though I hate the Seahawks, they're easier to love. But now since they got the Kraken and we're doing this, I don't really like Seattle that much, to be honest, okay? Anyways, Nirvana, globally loved. You can't find a lot of people who dislike Nirvana. I think they're really, really respected. I think you noted it earlier, Trevor, during the break. They were genre setting. They brought something new to the table, and we got to respect that. You also asked me what my favorite song was from the band. I'm going to let you answer it first because I got one, but I'm going to give you the floor.
Yeah, it's funny. I asked you, and I struggle. I think Lithium is one that stands out to me. Lithium is just a great song. I love you. I'm not gonna crack.
Damn, dude. I love you. I'm not going to crack. That's deep, yo. That's
Yeah, I
deep,
think
dude. I always
I think it's
encourage
about
my friend. I
yeah,
always encourage my friends to crack. If they're in like a 50-50 thing and they're going back and forth, it's like, dude, just crack, like let it go. Anyways, Come
yeah,
As You Are. That's probably one of my favorite
yeah,
records. I haven't dove into everything Nirvana. Just kind of been given what I've been given, but just loved it. Always listening to it when I can. And if anyone wants something to watch over the weekend, sip a couple of brewskis, do your thing, sip a couple of Coca-Colas, do your thing. It's that MTV Unplugged performance that they
oh
did
yeah,
a couple
oh
decades ago,
legendary.
and just pure
Yeah,
talent, man. Pure talent. No fake BS going on there. There's a reason why it worked, And it was, because they were new, but it was also because they were totally genuine at the same time. And that's a lethal combination. For real, for real, for real. Hey, speaking of lethal combinations, the people, yes, the people who watch the show, hey, the people who don't watch the show as well, you get the deal. Like us or hate us, we are all locked on Canucks. I mean, Canucks. And the people, Comment Corner is our favorite segment on the show. And we're going to run it now on Locked On Canucks.
Welcome to Comment Corner, powered by Paraphrasing.
This comment comes from Harpoon.
Guys, Aho is just as good as Pettersson. Plus, his teams make the playoffs. If Pettersson makes more money than Aho, then he's an a-hole. And remember, McDavid didn't do his team any favors when he took up all of Edmonton's salary cap. Championships are built off bargains.
Okay, Trevor, you're the smarter guy, and I've been so Team Pettersson, Team Pettersson, pretty much Team Pettersson over being Team Canucks when it comes to this negotiation. And I'm rarely in that mindset when it comes to the Packers or the Canucks, but I'm just so desperate to make sure that Pettersson sticks around for 8 years. If he signs for $11 million, $11.5 million, knowing where the Canucks are right now, knowing where the salary cap may be, do you think he's still going to put his team in a position to completely handcuff them and not allow them to do their things? I guess what I'm trying to say is it essential, a must for this team, the Vancouver Canucks, to get Pettersson at a bargain?
No, it's not essential. I see the commenter's argument to an extent. I also think that when he's talking about us saying that, us saying Pettersson's better is biased. I mentioned on that episode where we talked about that. Well, I wouldn't say Pettersson's way better than Aho, but he's definitely better. He's a step above Aho. Like, you look at points per game throughout the career, Pettersson 0.99 points per game, Sebastian Aho 0.90 points per game. Pettersson's a step above. Defensively, he's a step above too. You saw that in the Selke voting for the flaws there as well. In terms of the contract, look, obviously if he gets signed for a bargain, it makes it easier for the Canucks to go out and find better players. Like, that's unequivocally the truth. That being said, if he signs for an $11.5 million contract, that's not unreasonable either. So there's two sides to it that are both true. I mean, in an ideal world, you lock up Pettersson for $10 million and then you have an extra $1.5 million, $2 million to play with. But if he signs for $11.5 million, he's worth that too. So I think the argument goes both ways. To say that Pettersson needs to take $10 million or else the Canucks are doomed, it's not necessarily the case. You'd like that, but it, him signing at $11.75 million is not an unfair deal based on what he provides. He's one of the best players in the game.
Bro, I'm just all into making sure he's around for 8 years. And I think that's why the number keeps going up for me, or just staying around the higher benchmark. Cause again, 8 years really, really matters. Again, what if he signs for 4 years? What if he signs for 5, right? What if he does that? There's a good chance that he then does leave after 4 years or 5 years. And we're going to be stripped away from 3 years of possibly being a contender because you just lost one of the best players in the game. You want to win? You need some of the best players in the game. Look at the Vancouver Canucks, right? The only times they've made it, they've had the best players on their team. Pavel Bure, Henrik and Daniel. 82, team effort, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, you need the best guys on your team. For real. And I was thinking about this too. Like winning matters and all that stuff matters, and that can make a player stay. You know what can make a player leave? More millions of dollars. And, when I was younger, I never believed in the whole, like, players want money and they did it for the money and all that stuff. And I'm not calling Pettersson a greedy guy or most athletes greedy guys. I'm just saying, living in Vancouver, the most expensive place ever, the taxes, all that stuff. Dude, like when you hit July 1st and you realize that, I can literally make an extra $2 million. Oh, there's no taxes. It's different. It's different. You just think about different things. It's just the truth because it's a lot of money.
Well, and think about it. Agents are the ones brokering these deals, and agents get paid more if their players get paid more, right? So, I mean, there's definitely pressure from the guys who are really like putting pen to paper here at the end of the day. So,
oh man,
the adult world's a little different.
Again, just lock Pettersson up for 8 years, okay? Just keep him around, and we keep our he's one of the few guys that can like rip open a window single handedly. I know we haven't seen it yet, but the Canucks have been such a bleep show, like capital, like one of the most embarrassing franchises in sports. Damn near made it impossible. I think things are kind of sort of being cleaned up now, and I know there's got to be a lot to be proven this season. Hey, you know what? We'll spend more time talking about this next week, okay? Because if I kept going, I would have kept going, okay? Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bhawan, Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Have a great weekend. Spend some time playing, enjoy yourself. Don't take life so seriously. And as Bob Marley always says, he didn't just say this once. He has said it maybe 157 billion times. Every little thing is going to be all right. Trevor Beggs, sign us out.
That was beautiful, buddy. All I got to add to that is make sure you work out your wrist this weekend, okay? Shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the program. Stick around for a bit, because even though it's about to be August, we still got shows coming out at least 3 days a week, okay? Coming up next week, like I said, maybe Kyle's got some solo episodes. I do want to dig into some draft stuff, Alvin's drafting history, what the Canucks have done over the past couple of years. So I do have some draft episodes planned, so stay tuned for that. But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs, that guy's Kyle Bhawan, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.